What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be a quick life update and just kind of letting you guys know where I've been and like filling you in on what my life has been like lately. It's been a while since I filmed a video. I want to say it's been a year and a half, close to 2 years, somewhere in that time frame. On one hand, not much has been happening. Life was pretty boring for a little while there. But on the other hand, I did have some new and exciting things happen. So I wanted to kind of fill you guys in on that today. If you have seen my videos before, you may recognize that I'm sitting in a different filming spot. This is not where I normally film my videos. And the reason for that is because I moved recently. I'm still living in the Pittsburgh area. It was basically a long drawn out story and I won't go into all of the details, but I'll kind of fill you guys in a little bit. Basically my other apartment that I was living at before, I lived there for 6 years and I really liked that apartment, but it just kind of felt like, you know, it was time to close that chapter and move on to something else. My landlord at the time was awesome landlord, very nice woman. She had sent me the letter to renew my lease and basically told me like, hey, we would love to have you, we want you to stay. And I was like, no, I think I'm ready to go, because I wanted to move out of state. I wanted to move to Cincinnati, which is something that I've wanted to do ever since middle school. That was a really big important thing for me. That was something I really wanted for myself, and I had kind of told myself like, after I graduate college I really want to move to Cincinnati. And unfortunately, after I graduated college 2 years ago, I got really sick. There's a few videos on my channel where I kind of talk about like what happened and all of that. I'll spare you all the boring details in this video because you can go back and watch those. But anyway, so I got really sick, and then there was just like a bunch of things happened and I wasn't able to move to Cincinnati when I was hoping to. So when this opportunity kind of came up to either renew my lease or leave, I told my landlord like, listen, I would love to be able to stay, but I think it's time for me to go. You know, there just wasn't a lot of like job opportunities in Pittsburgh that I was interested in, and I had already started applying to jobs in Cincinnati and actually had a couple of job offers. I had spoken with some people about some job openings, and I was really excited to be able to move to Cincinnati and start this like new, you know, exciting chapter of my life. So anyways, so I gave my 60-day notice to my landlord, you know, 60 days before the lease ended, and I signed it, she signed it, everything was fine. She sent it into corporate. I thought that was, you know, kind of a done deal. Long story short, as the end of the 60 days kept getting closer and closer, I get a random phone call one day from my landlord on a Sunday, and the office at that complex is closed on Sunday. So I thought it was weird. She left me a voicemail. She was like, hey, I'm just letting you know, like, today is my last day. I'm not going to be working at this job anymore, but there's a new landlord coming in. And she's like, you know, from here going forward, if you need anything during the move out process, you'll be dealing with her. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, not really thinking anything of it. So that landlord, she left that job, and then this new landlord came in, and from my understanding, it wasn't like a brand new landlord. I guess she works at one of the sister properties of this like corporate company, and she came to that complex just to kind of like fill in, I guess, until they found like a permanent property manager or landlord or whatever. And right off the bat, there was like a lot of issues, conflict. I don't want to, you know, I don't know. It was just a weird vibe. And, you know, I was in the process of wrapping everything up to be able to, you know, move, just finishing up, tying up some loose ends and things like that. During that process, I was still, you know, trying to find a place in Cincinnati. I applied to a whole bunch of apartments. Nothing was working out, and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know why. I was applying to places, I was getting turned down, or, you know, I would inquire about a place, I would send an email or a phone call and leave a voicemail, and like no one would call back. It was very strange. My credit is not terrible, but it's not great either. But my credit now is better than what it was when I first moved, you know, to the Pittsburgh area. So I was like, well, I don't know if my credit is the problem or if it's the income. I tried having a co-signer and just could not get approved for an apartment. So as this 60 days is like winding down and it's like getting time for me to leave, I'm like kind of panicking, like, what am I going to do? So anyways, so there was like all these weird things that kept happening with this landlord, like just weird like phone calls, and just, it was very strange. Like she came into the job like very aggressive, and not just to me, but it seemed like that was kind of the general vibe that everyone got. And it just made me very uncomfortable. And honestly, by that point, by the time she came there after the other landlord left, there was only like maybe 3 weeks left in my lease, and I was like, okay, like this just kind of solidifies my decision that I don't want to live in this apartment anymore. It's time for me to move on, you know, like this chapter has ended, you know, no big deal. So anyways, basically what happened, like prior to all of this, when I was sick back in 2021, I had multiple like health problems that happened. And like I said, I won't go into any of the details because I talk about that in some of my older videos. You can go back and watch those if you're interested. But basically, long story short, I had multiple different health problems, but I also had COVID in addition to that. So in my area, we still had the emergency rental assistance program was still open, and they were still taking applicants. And, you know, because I couldn't go to work and I had, you know, all these different health problems, I was having trouble paying the rent. And I applied for the emergency rental assistance, and it's like a really lengthy process. And, you know, my landlord had to fill out a bunch of paperwork, and it was like a whole big thing. But ultimately I got approved, and they were paying the rent, you know, until I was able to get back on my feet. So the only bad thing about the program is that it takes a very long time for them to like finalize the paperwork and actually get the check out to the landlord. And they don't send like one big check, at least not in my area. I don't know how they do it everywhere else or how they did it everywhere else, but in my area at the time, it's like a very, very slow process. And every like 90 days or something like that, you have to fill out the paperwork all over again and kind of just like continue to make sure that you qualify for the assistance. So anyway, they were paying the rent for a while there while I was sick, because, you know, I needed to get back up on my feet and get back to work and whatnot. And my old landlord had no problem with this. Like, she willingly participated in the program. She filled out the paperwork. You know, if they needed to call and talk to her, she talked to them. Like, there was no problem. And, you know, they were sending the checks, but it just took a while for the checks to get there. So anyway, I say all that to say, as we're getting close to the end of the 60 days, right before my lease was ending, the new landlord had to then sign the paperwork to be able to accept the money from the emergency rental assistance program, because there was still a balance on my like tenant, I don't know, like portal or whatever. Like, I don't know, I still owed the complex money, and I was waiting for the rental assistance program to send one final check to cover that balance, because they said that they were, you know, going to do that because I had still qualified at the time. And anyways, so the new landlord signs the paperwork, agrees to accept the money, agrees to participate, you know, in the program or whatever, and, you know, sends it off to them. So I'm thinking, okay, this is good. So in the process, like I said, I'm still trying to find an apartment. I know like the 60 days is like counting down, and I'm like, okay, if I can't find a place like before the 60 days is up, like where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And, you know, there was just like a whole lot going on at one time. So basically what ended up happening was I did not find an apartment in Cincinnati before that time like ran out. So I ended up on the 60th day, I moved out of my apartment in Pittsburgh and cleaned everything, like, you know, cleaned the toilets and the bathtubs and the showers and the refrigerator, the microwave, mopped the floors. I ran the vacuum like 4 times because the furniture had never been moved in the 6 years that I lived there. Like my bed, pretty much I moved it in on day 1 and like never moved it, never vacuumed underneath it. So I ran the vacuum like 4 times, cleaned everything, and I have time-stamped photos that show like the apartment was clean, it was empty on that date, and I moved out. I put everything in storage and went to stay at a hotel until I could find an apartment. So when I had initially signed my 60-day notice with the old landlord, one of the things that they had told me was that I had to do a move-out inspection just to make sure like the apartment looked okay, that I like, you know, you don't destroy anything or anything like that. And I agreed to that. I had no problem with that. So on that 60th day, I called the office, and it wasn't the landlord who answered. It was one of the women working on the office. And I was like, hey, like everything is clean, it's empty, like can you guys come do the move out inspection, just so that way we know that everything is, you know, up to your standards, make sure that there's nothing I need to do on my end, if there's anything else I need to clean or repair or whatever. And they just kind of were like, hey, you know, it's not a big deal, just bring us the keys and we'll do the inspection another day. And I was like, are you sure? Because if there's anything that, you know, I can handle or fix before I leave, like I want to do that. Now the apartment was in great shape. I mean, nothing was broken, nothing was, you know, nothing like that. but I just wanted to make sure that they don't try to like blame me for something later down the line, or like, I just wanted us to all be on the same page basically. And they were like, no, it's fine, just bring us the keys and like we're good. So I was like, okay. Now during that, like on that same day, they were still waiting for that one final check from the emergency rental assistance program. The woman who worked in the office at the rental assistance like office or whatever, she had verified both with me and with the new landlord that the check was on its way to cover this balance. And she had kind of said, well, I hope it'll be there before you officially move out, but we really can't guarantee it. It might come like a couple days later. So I was like, okay, because I really wanted that balance like wiped out, and I just didn't have enough money to cover that. Otherwise I would have covered it myself. But they were already in the process, like they had already drawn up the check. It was already like on its way. But like I said, it just takes a little while. And the new landlord said she was okay with it. She said it was no big deal. And we were like, okay, you know, hopefully this won't cause any problems. I was really concerned, you know, moving out officially, leaving this balance, but I was like, I don't have any other option. So like I said, on the 60th day, I turned in my keys, I turned in my pool pass, I turned in my garage opener, turned everything in. I also have a time-stamped photo of me like literally turning the stuff in. So that way there was no like issues. I wanted everything to be covered on my end. So like I said, all my stuff was in storage. I leave, I go to a hotel. I'm still trying to find apartments. I'm still applying to places. And 5 days later, this landlord, this new landlord, goes to the like court or the magistrate's office or whatever and files for an eviction. I don't understand. Like, I wasn't living there. She already had the keys in her possession. The apartment was completely empty. It was clean. There was nothing left behind. No garbage, no furniture, nothing. I have photos that are time-stamped that show the entire apartment was clean. It was empty. You know, I did not have possession of the apartment. And she went and filed for an eviction, which didn't make any sense to me. Now, when I asked her about it, I was like, what is happening? She said it was because of the balance, but she knew the check was on its way. So then it was like maybe a day or two after she filed for the eviction, the check showed up in her office to cover that balance. So now, you know, the balance is paid for, the balance is covered. She immediately calls me up, she apologizes. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna go back to the court. By this point, like, we hadn't even had the court date yet. Like, it was scheduled, but the whole thing happened so quick. We didn't even go to court. We never even saw a judge or anything. And she was like, I'm gonna go back to the magistrate's office and I'm gonna have it withdrawn and, you know, tell them it was paid in full, tell them it was just a misunderstanding, like, you know, no big deal. And what I didn't realize at the time is that in Pennsylvania, those kind of things cannot just be erased or expunged or anything. Like, once you have that filing, regardless of whether you make it to court, whether it sees a judge, regardless of what the judgment is, whether it's against you or, you know, against the landlord, it doesn't matter. Those things cannot be removed from your public record. So she, you know, kept good on her word. She did go back and have it withdrawn. She did mark it as, you know, it was settled, paid in full, whatever. But now this is on my public like record and I can't do anything about it. Which I was terrified would keep me from, you know, finding another apartment, because I was already having trouble with the places that I had applied to prior to that happening. And then I'm like, well, now with this on my record, most landlords, I mean 99% of landlords, when they hear the word eviction, regardless of what the reasoning was or regardless of whether it was a misunderstanding or not, that's an automatic denial for most landlords. So I was panicking. It was really scary. And I was, you know, in this hotel, like trying to figure out what am I going to do, and still applying to places in Cincinnati. All in all, I had applied to like 8 different places in Cincinnati, in that whole area, and none of them worked out. And I don't know, like I really wanted to be in Cincinnati, but part of me felt like maybe there's a reason I need to stay in Pittsburgh. Like maybe I'll just apply someplace in Pittsburgh and just kind of see like what happens, what the outcome is. So I went around, toured a whole bunch of places that are in my town, and one of the places that I toured, my old landlord is now the property manager there. So she left that complex to go to a new complex. I took a tour there, beautiful apartment. After I took the tour, I sat down with her. I kind of explained to her like briefly what happened, not like in a like gossipy way, but just kind of letting her know like, hey, if I do apply here, you're gonna see this eviction filing on my record. And she was like, what do you mean? She was like, you know, what happened in the 3 weeks like since I left, like what happened in that time. And I kind of just gave her like the brief rundown, and she was like, oh my goodness, like I don't know why they would do that. That wasn't part of the plan. Like that was never supposed to happen. And you know, she said, you know, we were working with you, corporate was willing to work with you, we had no issues. Like why would this new landlord come in and file an eviction after you already moved out? Because there's nothing to evict at that point. You don't live there, you're not occupying the premise, there's nothing to take back possession of, on, you know, as far as the landlord is concerned. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. And you know, I could tell she kind of felt bad, you know, because all of that happened like after she left, and it was such like a small window of time. I mean, it was literally like in those 3 weeks everything just kind of fell completely apart. And she was, you know, very understanding, very sympathetic. She was like, listen, we'd love to have you here. Like, you know, this was not a case of like, oh, I was a terrible tenant and, you know, no one would ever rent to me again. That's not what this was. She was, you know, very, very kind about it. And she was like, yeah, like we'd love to have you here if you're interested. Just, you know, make sure you have the proof of income, make sure you get, you know, your credit in order, fill out the application, you know, we'll see what we can do. And then, you know, we'll kind of go from there. So I was like, okay, you know, I felt a little bit better after that, because you know, hearing that from this woman who was my, you know, previous landlord, hearing that like, okay, it wasn't anything I did personally, it wasn't me being a bad tenant, it wasn't like, you know, I did something wrong and got evicted, and you know, like that wasn't the case at all. This was just one big mess. And hearing that she, you know, was willing to rent to me again at this new complex, like made me feel better about the whole situation. So there was a few other places I toured in addition to that place, and ultimately I ended up deciding on a different complex, only because that complex that my old landlord is now at, and this is such a silly reason, but like it's a big deal to me, none of those apartments have carpeting in them, and carpeting was an absolute must-have for me. Like there was no other way around it. I know a lot of people don't like carpeting because it's dirty and it's gross, but for me, I need to have carpeting. It was just a must-have for me. So those apartments, very beautiful. They're like brand new apartments, really, really nice complex, but the carpeting was like a deal breaker for me. So anyway, so I ended up applying at the place that I'm in now. And this was actually the very first place that I applied to in Pittsburgh. And I applied, it was like 6 p.m. on a Wednesday after I had taken the tour. I got approved the very next day, Thursday morning, like 8 a.m. The approval was in my email. And I was like, thank goodness, I have a place to go now. I still don't understand why. I guess it was the universe, or it was God, I don't know what it was, but apparently I was not meant to be in Cincinnati right now. That was not, you know, this season for me to be in Cincinnati. There's nothing I can explain as to why I would get denied from 8 different places in Cincinnati, but then get approved the very first place I applied to in Pittsburgh. It didn't make any sense to me. But anyways, I got approved. So was able to move in, was able to get out of the hotel. There was a whole bunch of other stuff that kind of happened in between there. Just a lot of like life, personal things, and I'll spare you guys all the boring details because none of that is interesting. But anyways, so yeah, so now I'm living in this apartment, and I'm kind of sad about this because on one hand, if I I knew I was gonna stay in Pittsburgh, I would have rather have just stayed in the same complex and just told them like, yeah, I'll just renew the lease, I'll just stay here. But I had purposely, you know, given my 60-day notice to leave. You know, the lease was ending, and you know, it was like a mutual thing. You know, my old landlord, before she had left, she was like, yeah, like we really wish that, you know, you would stay, we really, you know, like having you here. But she, you know, she has a daughter my age, and she was like, you know, but I understand how it is, you know, after you graduate college, you want to branch out into the world and go, you know, see new places and whatnot. So she was very understanding about it. And so, you know, that kind of made me feel better about leaving. And then when the new landlord came in and that whole entire mess, it kind of reinforced that I had made the right decision to leave. So yeah, it does kind of suck that I left the apartment with the sole intention of moving to another city and then didn't end up moving to another city when if I would have known that, I would have just stayed where I was. But anyways, but the complex that I'm in now, it's a very nice complex. It's actually not that far away. I'm still in like the same general vicinity of where I lived at before. But there are a few things that are different. So this complex is actually a gated community. So it's super safe. It has a heated pool. It has a fire pit, which we did not have a fire pit at the other complex. So that's super fun, sitting out around the fire at night. I do that quite often. I like it. And then we have valet trash, which is super exciting. The area that I live in, almost every complex has valet trash, but my old complex did not. And it wasn't that big of a deal because where my building was located, the dumpster was just like right like across the parking lot. It wasn't a far walk at all, but it was just a nuisance. Like, it just made me like low-key jealous of all these other complexes that had valet trash where they just come to your front door, they take your trash, that's it. You don't have to like walk or carry anything super far. And I just didn't understand why we couldn't have it there. But anyways, we have valet trash here and I'm very excited. So there's like little things that are, you know, better, I guess, or different. One of the big things in my old apartment was it had a gas fireplace. And if you were new here, I have a cat. He's 10 years old. His name is Maddox. He's my baby. But he was obsessed with the gas fireplace. I mean, I'm talking, we used that fireplace probably 5 days a week, 6 days a week, all year round. Even in the summertime, even if it was hot outside, like at night after the sun went down, we would turn on the air conditioner and turn on the fireplace. Like, he loved that fireplace. So to me, I was like, if I could find a place that has a gas fireplace, that would be amazing. But they're not that easy to come by, especially in apartments. But luckily, I have a gas fireplace here. So that is awesome. He's not really used to it yet. This gas fireplace here gets a lot hotter, a lot quicker than at my old apartment. So I think he's kind of like afraid of it almost, or kind of spooked by it, but he's been warming up to it. So that was a huge plus, you know, being able to still have that gas fireplace. And also I'm on the first floor, which was an absolute must-have for me. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. A lot of people think you're a young single female, like, why would you want to live on the first floor? That isn't that dangerous? Don't you feel unsafe? No, I love being on the first floor. I would be on the first floor before I'd be anywhere else. And like I said, it is a gated community, so I feel, you know, plenty safe. I've met the neighbors. They're all very, very friendly and haven't had any issues so far. So yeah, really nice being on the first floor. The apartment has a huge patio. Like, the patio is bigger than on my old apartment. So really nice to be able to just like have a space to go and like sit outside and, you know, have the patio door open, kind of get some fresh air. So all in all, it's not bad. And this apartment is also a 1-bedroom. My old apartment was a 2-bedroom because my second bedroom I used as a home office. And here, this particular apartment was actually the largest out of all of the 1-bedrooms that I toured. And I'll do a tour in another video, but I'm in my bedroom right now and I have a queen size bed. I have 2 end tables. I have a huge dresser. I have my TV, and then I have my desk and desk chair. I have another table that has my printer on it. I have a huge ottoman, which I use to store all of the extra like blankets and pillows. And then I have this huge giant stuffed bear that I won at Dave & Buster's. I have that like sitting propped up on the floor. It's like a 5-foot tall teddy bear. And then I still have plenty of room to walk around. So like, even though this is a 1-bedroom, it still is able to hold all of the things I need it to hold. I'm not that worried about having like a designated office space, but for me it was just really important to have a place to put my desk. I didn't really care where it was. So being able to have my desk and my printer and my whole like office setup in my bedroom, even though this is a 1-bedroom, is like amazing to me. So I have a ton of space, basically. I have a ton of space even though it is only a 1-bedroom. It has a very large bathroom and it has a huge walk-in closet. The walk-in closet is actually attached to the bathroom, not the bedroom, but I'm fine with that because in the closet there are a bunch of shelves, and on all the shelves I use that for my towels and washcloths, like all the bathroom stuff. And then the other side of the closet is all of my clothes and all my shoes. I have like a shoe rack, all my shoes, my purses and everything are all hung up. And then I have a huge full-length mirror inside the closet, and I still have room left over. So it has a very large closet, very large bathroom, so very happy about that. The only thing that I am not happy about with this apartment is the kitchen is small, way smaller than at my old apartment. So I'm kind of sad about that. But the trade-off is that I have a dining room here, which I did not have a dining room before. My old apartment had a very large island, I guess, like instead of a dining room. And so I just had bar stools and, you know, would just sit at the island. I really never sat at the island that often, but that was the situation there. And now here it has kind of like a little bar area, so I still have a place to put my bar stools, but then it has a nice sized dining room. So I'm in the process of trying to find a like square dining table with like 4 little chairs to put there. I think that'll be really cute for like Thanksgiving and Christmas. It'll be like decorated really nice, so I'm excited about that. But I am sad that I had to give up my huge giant kitchen, but it is what it is. So yeah, that is the biggest update in my life. That's like the biggest thing that's been happening. The other thing, I don't know if you can tell or not, I hope you can, but I have lost 30 pounds in the past like 6 months. So super excited about that. Just, you know, in the process of trying to get a little bit healthier, feel a little bit better within my body. And I don't mean looks wise, I mean, after being sick, I was on a bunch of different, you know, medications while being sick and had gained weight, both as a side effect of those medications and also just from the process of being sick, not being able to leave the house. The illness I had, I was highly contagious. I literally could not leave the house at all. And it was a mess. I gained a bunch of weight because of all of that was happening, and like the stress of being sick and all of that going on. It was like a whole big thing. So I'm very short. I'm only 4'11". So any weight gain on me put like a bunch of strain on my body, and it just was like really hard to like bend over and tie my shoes and like do the most basic things. When I would go to the gym, like putting my sports bra like on and off over top of my head, I would be like out of breath doing it. So very, very excited to have lost 30 pounds so far. I hope to lose a little bit more, hopefully, but even if I don't, I'm fine with losing 30 pounds. I'm happy about that. To me, that is a huge achievement, and I'm very, very proud and very excited for that. And yeah, in the past couple of years, I mean, after I went through all that being sick, I have not been sick since. I have not had any health problems. I've not had any issues that have come up. So thank God for that. You know, nothing major has gone on. Like I said, if you've seen my other videos before, you know I have a cat. His name is Maddox. He's 10 years old. He had a birthday in June. He is doing wonderful. He's doing fantastic. Also, I had mentioned before that I have a hamster. His name is Hampton. And yes, I still have Hampton. He is 2 years and 7 months old, and he's still going strong. You'd never know it. He's very healthy, very playful. You know, the only thing that is starting to show his age a little bit is that he doesn't run on the wheel nearly as much as he used to. He used to run for like 6 or 7 hours a day. Now it's like maybe a couple minutes here and there, but I do take him out of his cage every single day. I let him kind of run around on the bed or run around on the couch just to make sure he can stretch his legs and, you know, get a little bit of exercise in. But yeah, he's doing great. He's, you know, hanging in there. So me, Maddox, and Hampton are, you know, adjusting well, settling in, and just trying to, you know, figure out kind of what the next steps are going to be after this. I still want to move to Cincinnati. That has not changed, but I guess it's kind of a case of when it's meant to be, it'll be. My lease here is a shorter lease. I think it's 8 months or 9 months instead of 12. So just kind of deciding like what to do after that, kind of how to proceed from there. Like I said, would love to move to Cincinnati. That was the dream ever since I was in middle school. That is something that, you know, I've always wanted to do, something that has been so important to me. I always knew, like, once I graduated college, and if you have seen my videos before, you know this, but if you haven't, I only have an associate's degree so far, so I don't have a bachelor's degree yet. So I got the associate's degree 2 years ago, and I want to continue on to get my bachelor's degree. But I wanted to go to school in Cincinnati. I didn't want to go to school in Pittsburgh. Just personal preference, not for any particular reason. I don't like driving in Pittsburgh, so it makes me like super duper nervous. And, you know, I did it as much as I needed to get my associate's degree, and I was like, listen, I can't do another 2 or 3 years of this. I can't do it. So I really wanted to go to school somewhere in Cincinnati or in that area. So like at this point, school is like on hold, and just, you know, coasting right now, just coasting through life, trying to figure out, you know, where to go from here, what the next steps are going to be, what life is going to look like after this. But yeah, that's pretty much my whole life update. The other thing, my hair has gotten really long. I mean, my hair was long before in my old videos, but now this is the longest it has ever been. When I stand up, it's all the way down to like my hips. So yeah, that's kind of exciting. I've never had super long hair in my entire life. It actually didn't get long until I was sick. Around that same time that I was dealing with all of that, my thyroid medicine got adjusted, and it must have been adjusted to like exactly what my body needed, because my hair just grew like crazy and my nails grow like crazy now. And I don't know if that's because of that, or if that was just, you know, from me being sick and not being able to, I didn't put any heat on my hair for like almost 6 whole months, and I didn't leave the house. I wasn't outside in the sun or the wind or the rain or anything like that. And I would just wash my hair, deep condition it. I would put it into 2 French braids, and I would just leave it alone, and for like 6 straight months, and it grew like crazy, and it's just been growing ever since. So, you know, every now and then I just trim the ends off, but I love it. It's very long. So yeah, that's pretty much, you know, my whole life. That's pretty much the update, the biggest update. Yeah, not really much else has happened. That's pretty much it. I still have my same car, which, if you don't know, I have a Scion FRS. That is my little baby. I love that car. Yeah, so I plan on keeping that car for a while. And any car that I buy after that, I've got a little motto. I'm not financing another car ever again. It's gonna have to be cash up front. So yeah, I want to be done with car payments like for the rest of my life. So yeah, other than that, everything is pretty much still the same. I've still got all of my same furniture, still got my white couch that I love. I really wanted to get new furniture when I moved, as part of like the having a fresh start and, like, you know, starting new, and that just didn't work out either. I guess the universe was like, hey, you know, this isn't meant to be right now. So still have all my same furniture, still have my same bed, still have, you know, everything is still the same. Still my same computer, my same, like I said, my same desk chair. Everything looks the same. It's just new apartment. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I didn't even drink any of my drink this whole time. I didn't want to distract myself and then forget what I was talking about. I just heard a weird noise. I think it was the neighbor upstairs. But yeah, and my neighbors here are so awesome. The lady upstairs actually moved in like 5 days before me, and she is the sweetest woman. She is so friendly. She's got 2 little dogs, and she just seems like the nicest person. The people across the hall are very nice. Everyone that I've met so far has been very friendly. So yeah, I have no complaints about that whatsoever. I just, you know, kick myself in the butt because if I was gonna stay in Pittsburgh, I would have just stayed at the apartment that I was in, and I would have never left. But I guess it is what it is, and having a fresh start, you know, even if it is in the same town, I guess that's something. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this video. I really don't have anything else to talk about. Every time I film, I always say like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, upload regularly, and then it never happens. So I just don't want to say that. I guess, you know, if I do, I do. If I don't, I'm sorry. But I did miss like filming, just sitting down and like talking to you guys, talking in general. So yeah, I was really looking forward to doing this and just hanging out, especially because I have this camera that I bought this camera 3 years ago, and have barely used it for YouTube. And I pay for the Adobe, what is it, Premiere Pro, is that what it's called? I don't remember, the video editing software. I pay for the subscription every month, and I'm like, I like bought this stuff to do YouTube. I probably need to put it to good use. But yeah, and in terms of the whole like apartment thing with having that eviction filing my record, I am in the process of trying to see like if there's anything at all that I can do to get that either removed, because it was technically not accurate. Like, I was not living there, so I don't know how, like what proof she had to present, if any, to be able to even do that. So I am in the process of trying to see if there's anything at all that I can do to have it removed from my record, or have like some sort of like, I don't know, a note placed on there or something, because, you know, like, luckily I didn't have any problems getting approved here. I had no issues whatsoever, and like I said, my old landlord, she was more than happy to take me at that complex. But I mean, that's not gonna be forever. I mean, eventually, you know, I mean, they all kind of know each other in this area. Everybody, you know, at the different complexes are familiar with each other. But if I do move to Cincinnati or anywhere, they don't care who this woman is or what it was that she said, or they don't care that it was a mistake. They just see that filing, and that's to them an immediate red flag. So I am in the process of trying to do something about it, if anything. So yeah, I don't want to just ignore it, because I know that that's going to follow me for the rest of my life, and I don't plan on renting forever, but I have to rent for now until I can hopefully someday afford a house, and, you know, kind of go from there. But yeah, I think that's it. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. So yeah, after this, hopefully I'll be uploading again soon, but I'm not gonna make any promises. We'll see what happens. But yeah, maybe one day I'll do like a little tour of my apartment. And I know people like say that that's dangerous to do, like showing people the layout, which I do agree with. You probably, that's not a good idea. But I have seen videos where people will, instead of showing the whole layout of the apartment, instead they'll just show each room like individually. So I may do something like that, and just to kind of give you guys like a brief glimpse of like, here's what the bedroom looks like, here's how big the closet is, here's how the living room looks. Maybe I'll do something like that if you guys are interested. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. I kind of rambled on for way longer than I intended to. I thought this was going to be a quick little update. When I was rehearsing this in my head, it was only like 10 minutes, and it ended up being way longer than that. Excuse me. But anyways, yeah, that's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next video. Please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It does help me out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.